So let me begin by showing you a map of the Melbourne. So I think that because of this pandemic, nobody has been able to come to Melbourne so far, but look at where we are located. So this is actually the Melbourne Biomedical Precinct. And as you can see, it is actually surrounded by a lot of research centers, which came in really, really important, especially during the pandemic. So Melbourne University was one of the thought leadership because, the government was coming to ask for advice. The Peter Doherty Institute was actually doing a lot of research that was very in the forefront and very, very critical. So you find that as a result of all the work that has been done during this period of time, the students have really benefited. They were able to participate in programs helping out during the pandemic, and the government is so supportive that they have even given us additional money to build an Australian Institute of the Infectious Disease coming up. And so students who join us are going to be in the midst of these exciting developments. And of course, you'll see that there's a new train station that's going to be at our doorstep. So why the Doctor of Dental Surgery? So you find that we are actually number one in Australia and also ranked very highly in the world. And I think one really key feature is the fact that our students get to enjoy unparalleled placement opportunities. So you start off in year 2 with patient contact, but in year 4, you actually spend about 42 weeks in a whole year to be involved in actually hands-on practical training. And I think we are one of the few dental schools that provide public practices, private attachments, and also both in the urban and the rural regions. So very few dental schools do that, but we are one of the few. And I think our students really get to enjoy, as you can see in the picture there, the specialist clinics, and our facilities are really modern. And, some of the equipment are actually equipment that you find in the airplane simulation labs. So you find that the students can go in there, and while they are practicing drilling a teeth, for example, it feels like the real thing. And of course, upon graduation, you can straight away, start your practice in both Australia and New Zealand. I would strongly encourage everybody to actually, sign up for this webinar that's been conducted by Dr. Rebecca Wong. So it's just conducted a couple of days ago, and we have 2 students in this webinar who actually shared about the program, the student life, and a lot of Q&A questions posed by the audience. So please take a picture of this and attend the webinar. And so I'm just going to paint you a picture of Roisin, who is currently our 4th year Doctor of Dental Surgery student. So she is an international student, came to us after she completed her A-levels. And as you can see, during her Bachelor of Biomedicine, she not only studied all the core programs, but she did French, she did music as a breadth subjects, and majored in pathology. And next year, when she graduates, she will be able to practice as a dentist straight away. And after 3 years, for example, if she decided that, yep, I want to actually go on to practice in a specialist area, she can come back to be trained in Melbourne University as a specialist, could be in orthodontics or endodontics, periodontics, for example. Now, the other very popular program that we have at Melbourne University for Singaporean students is actually the Doctor of Medicine. And as you can see, we're number 1 in Australia and 14th clinically in clinical medicine. And Chire can tell you a bit more about the program later on. But what is really, very interesting about our program is the fact that we have actually launched into a non-traditional pathways, in terms of our teaching, in terms of our flexibility and choice. So for example, we have what we call the intercalated degrees. That's when you can actually do the Doctor of Medicine, say, for example, in the first 3 years, come in to join the program, the Master of Public Health for 1 year, after your 3rd year, and then go back to study your 4th year Doctor of Medicine. And we have put in place the engineering coming up, and also PhD. And we are probably the first school that actually runs our placement for students from fifth week during their year one class. And to us, a lot of students tell us about the student conference, which is always a highlight in the program, because they get to interact with a lot of, well-renowned medical practitioners, and also they get to actually, present their papers, for example. And you might have heard of Professor James Best, who has just retired as the Dean of Lee Kong Chian Medical School. He is an alum from the Melbourne Medical School, and look at where they have all gone to in terms of places. So the program is accredited by the medical councils in Singapore, Malaysia, and of course, Australia. So that means that you can actually practice after you graduated from these areas. Now, one very key question we get asked is about internships in Australia. And for international students, while you're not guaranteed an internship, what we have found is that a lot of our international students who wanted to stay back have all managed to find an internship. And there's a lot of materials and resources that are there to actually help our students sort of interview for internships. And again, I would encourage you to look at this MD webinar, because during this webinar, which is conducted a few days ago, Professor Steve Trumbull, who's the Director of Medical Education, talked about the course. And then we get our first year coordinator talking about first year, what do you expect? And we also have students who have actually joined the webinar to talk about their experience. Now, so while you are in Australia, this is what a pathway looks like. The first two boxes, you find that the first box with the two circles, that's where you will do your training at the university. After that, once you finish that, you are actually working first as a provisionally registered doctor, and then subsequently as a full-fledged doctor after your 1 year internship. And as you can see, it takes a long time for you to be trained to be a specialist. And that's why it is so important to make sure you find out all the right information before you embark on a course here. Now, so how do we support our students in terms of success? So I just wanted to highlight a couple of things. And one of them is about this buddy program that we have. Once you join us as the first-timer international student, we actually, if you sign up for the program, we will match you up with a current student who can then help you do the transition into your new life, because it's a big commitment to change country, change education system, and to be able to sort of start a new lifestyle. And now you got to do your own cooking and washing. No more mommy to do that, for example, right? But what is also important is that in your final year of your graduate studies, we actually match you up with an alumni who's already practicing in the field, so that you can talk through things like career transition. How am I going to, decide which should I do public, should I do private practice, for example. So that's a very popular program that a lot of our students have found to be extremely useful. And so you will realize that, if you come to University of Biomedicine, University of Melbourne as an undergraduate student, what you will have in the course is not only depth, as in like the core and major subjects, you will also have breadth. And then from there, you have a choice of doing either honors or to actually, and then research, or to go into a professional program. You can, of course, choose to also exit. But you'll find that there's something like 27 different areas of study that you can do in a health area for Melbourne University. And of course, some students actually, after they finish their undergraduate studies, they actually choose to work for a couple of years before they come back to either embark on honors, research, or into a professional master's degree. So I'm going to pass on the mic to Andrew now, my colleague, to actually talk in more details about the Bachelor of Biomedicine. Andrew, back to you.
Thank you, Eileen, and good afternoon, everyone. We're going to go straight into the Bachelor of Biomedicine now. So the Bachelor of Biomedicine is a degree that is focused on building a strong understanding of the human structure and function of the body, and as well as the determinants of disease. This program is important because it is an ideal pathway into health programs, including medicine and dentistry. And what we find is that one of the common misconceptions is that you are streamlined and limited to only study medicine and dentistry, but really it provides a strong foundation into other health professions as well. So one of the ways students describe this program is options. So we're going to see why by taking a brief look at the sample course plan. So let's go to the next slide. And as you can see here, students entering the course can have the flexibility to choose multiple study options. So this is a sample course plan. And what we find that is that in the program, there will be mandatory core subjects, and these are highlighted in turquoise. And these core subjects are the foundational areas of study that will prepare you for a future in health profession. So whichever health profession you choose in the future, these core subjects will be the necessary building blocks for you, and sometimes even necessary for you because some of the core subjects are prerequisites for dentistry, optometry, and physiotherapy, which means you will not need to take it again later down the road. We also have breadth subjects and electives, and breadth subjects are subjects outside your course plan, while electives are subjects inside your course plan, but are not core subjects. So these can be used to complement your existing study, to learn a new skill set, or to discover other areas of interest. So it could be that you would like to build your knowledge on climate change and eventually work in the UN. Or you could also pick a subject like music or mass communications to make yourself a more well-rounded person. So whatever it is, you have options. This is your study. This is your life. And we want to give you the power to shape it in the way you want to. Let's go to the next slide. And another area to point out is the majors. In your third year, you can choose one of the 15 majors ranging from genetics to human nutrition to immunology, depending on what areas you would like to dig deeper in. You will only choose your major in your third year. And because of that, you can use the first 2 years to discover the options available to you. You know, you can take some time to have fun, take the time to learn and absorb all this valuable information. And then when you're ready in the third year, choose the ideal major for yourself when you have a clearer idea of your skill set, values, and aspirations as well. So we mentioned before that the Bachelor of Biomedicine course is the ideal pathway for students who are looking to move into medicine or dentistry. And we can understand how challenging the process is with all the GPA requirements, the GAMSAT scores, the multi-mini interviews. It can feel like a lot of pressure. And every student coming through the doors will need as much support as possible, which is where the student cohort comes in. The biomedicine student cohort will be super critical to your preparation for these courses. It is a small cohort, which means you do get more attention. There is more familiarity, and students have commented that it's like a family because you also progress beyond the biomedicine course together. You will also have study groups, revision lectures, and it's no wonder that around 40% of Doctor of Medicine students in previous years graduated from the Bachelor of Biomedicine course. So, and the thing is, besides all these study sessions, we also have a ton of social events, including camps, barbecues, and cruises, and so many more to help you stay connected, because university is not just about studies, it's about staying connected and developing long-lasting experiences and networks as well. So please check out the Biomedicine Students Society page on Facebook to have a better idea of what they do. And we're going to go into entry requirements. So to meet the entry requirements for the program, there are a few things to consider. You will need to meet the 3 prerequisites of maths, chemistry, and English, whether it be completed via IB, A-levels, or Trinity College Foundation. And if you are an international student, you will receive a guaranteed place if you meet the required grades, as long as there are places. There are about 160 international spots available. As you can see in the link in the slide, we encourage you to use the link to determine entry requirements that are specific to your experience. You can find this link on the website itself and just type in Bachelor of Biomedicine and this will come up. So we also have some upcoming events on the way. If you have any specific questions that you might have about a specific course or a pathway option, we encourage you to join us for these events. These are program information evening events, and you can find the links on this on the Meet Us page, or use a QR code on the slides to register for these events. If you are not able to attend, recordings are available, so just register anyway. All right, lastly, resources. So for further resources regarding prerequisite subjects around dental surgery, physiotherapy, and optometry, we encourage you to use the link provided here, or for admissions related questions about medicine or any of the above, the new International Admissions Guide is out and has answers to almost every question you might have. So we encourage you to use those resources for yourself. So I hope that you found that informative and helpful. We hope to have you join us soon, and we encourage you to please visit our website at UniMelb for any further questions. So now I will hand the time over to a very special person, Beverly, who is a third-year biomedicine student. She's going to share about her experience at the University of Melbourne so far. So over to you, Beverly.
Thank you, Andrew. Hi, everyone. My name is Beverly. So I'm going to share with you today about some of the challenges I faced while transitioning into uni life in Australia, and also how I coped with them and what I've enjoyed in the course so far. So when I first started uni, COVID had just hit as well. So I had to just be able to cope with online learning and also find ways to make new friends online as well. So actually, fortunately for me, I found that making friends wasn't too hard because in one of my online Zoom tutorials in the second semester of my first year, I managed to make my first friend finally. And also we realized that we could become good friends because we worked really well with each other during the group work we were assigned during classes, and also the fact that we were just comfortable with communicating with each other. And then also from there, she introduced me to her study group, and then I was also able to make more friends from there. And the study group managed to help me also because we would spend time together to revise lecture material and then help each other with things that we weren't too sure about. For example, also covered in lectures or workshops or tutorials, and then to prepare for exams. And also we spend time outside of uni and just like, for example, to celebrate each other's birthdays or even go for picnics or sleepovers. Yeah. And also another challenge which I faced when during the transition would be the increase in workload. For example, I did Trinity College before coming to UniMelb. So the workload I would say is different, as well as the amount of self-study you would have to do. And to cope with the increase in workload, especially over the years from year 1 to year 2 and year 2 to year 3, I would write down all my assignments and then just plan out my time. And it would just, I found it really helpful to write all my assignments on my calendar, which I have on my table, and then have the due dates put 2 days before the assignment was due, so that this would give me like a sense of urgency as well, which really helped a lot. Yeah, but although I planned out my time, sometimes things didn't go as planned, so I would still get stressed out about not completing things on time and just stressed out in general. But then to cope with this stress, I would usually either exercise and then or also just talk to my friends about it, and also talk to my parents about it when I do call them. Yeah, and also they would usually be able to offer me some useful advice and then give me some emotional comfort, which I need at the same time. And after that, I'll usually be able to get back on track and yeah, get my work done. And also regarding the biomed course itself, what I really enjoyed so far, probably the most I would say, would be the one of the second year double credit subjects, the core subjects. It's called Human Structure and Function, or HSF for short. And I found it really interesting because it integrated all the topics such as anatomy, physiology, and also a bit of pharmacology, which was really interesting. And then this all allowed me to see how like the anatomy and physiology of the body work together, as well as how the different therapeutics available could be used to treat conditions. And also, another thing that I liked about the subject was the anatomy practicals, which were held even though they were held online, they were still very enjoyable. And because I found it really enjoyable because it allowed me to have a look at what the different anatomical parts look like in real life as compared to what we were being taught in lectures. The lectures, sometimes they have real life images, cadaveric images as well, but sometimes they would have the stylized diagrams. So basically, sometimes the stylized diagrams can look very different from what it will look like in real life. And then basically I would have a lot of fun just trying to identify what the different parts will look like in the cadaveric images during the tutorials as well. And then at the same time in the tutorials, in the practicals, we were able to work together to figure that out, like with our classmates and also with our demonstrator as well. So I found that really fun and enjoyable to learn, even though it was a content heavy subject. Yeah. And otherwise, this concludes my sharing for today. And now I'll be passing the sharing on to Chire, who will be talking about his own experience in MD. Thank you.
Hi guys, I'm Chire, and I'm a third year Doctor of Medicine student. So maybe just like Beverly, I'll talk to you guys a bit about what I like about the program, and maybe some parts that I find challenging. So in terms of what I like, I really like the thing that really stands out to me the most would be the fact that it's really the flow of the content is really integrated, it's really logical, and it's really easy to like learn things. So when I first entered medicine, I was quite worried as well because I've heard like the workload is really massive. There's a lot of content. The content's really difficult. But I think the way they've structured the program, especially in the preclinical years, in the first year, second year, stuff like that, the flow is really logical. Everything's really integrated. I mean, just to give you guys an example, usually on Mondays we have like a case study class where we look at a case together as a class, and then throughout the week, let's say we have an infection case on Monday. Throughout the week, we'll have like labs on infections. We'll go to like the Dory labs like that Eileen was talking about. We'll look at stuff under the microscope, like infection stuff. We'll have like clinical skills classes on the clinical skills on infections. And then if we have like a cardiac case, we get like a clinical skills teaching on cardiac stuff. We get lectures on cardiac stuff. We go to the labs and look at cardiac stuff. We even get to talk to patients about cardiac issues. So I think like the way the course is structured is really logical, is really like everything flows really well, especially in the preclinical years. And that makes it a lot easier to like uptake the massive amounts of information that medicine can be. And another thing that I really like about the Melbourne Uni program is that there's a lot of support. Like there's a massive amount of support. They've hired like people just to like give us support, like well-being coaches. There's a lot of programs where you can get support if you're feeling overwhelmed. There's a lot of social events as well. And one thing I found was that like everyone's really friendly. So I didn't do my undergrad in Melbourne, and everyone, like when I first came, I was kind of worried because like I was like, oh, everyone's gonna know each other already. Everyone came from biomed. It's gonna be really hard for me to make friends. But I found that wasn't the case at all. Like there was so many social events, so many social opportunities. There's so many opportunities to make friends and get support. And another thing that I really like about the Melbourne program as well is the amount of clinical exposure we get. So like Eileen was talking about, this clinical exposure from day one. You're talking to patients, and at the end of the day, I think that's really important because that's the work that you're going to be doing as a doctor, not sitting down at your table looking at hundreds of lecture slides. That's not doctor work. Doctor work is going to the hospital, talking to patients, looking at patients, feeling patients, and that's really important, the amount of clinical exposure. And other than that, I think there's also a lot of opportunities like tagged along with the course. So like Eileen was talking about the student conference. So I got the opportunity to organize like a surgical workshop last year. There's a lot of stuff outside the program as well. A lot of co-curricular activities they can join, a lot of societies. If you like dancing, there's a dancing group. If you like food, whatever, there's a lot of things that you can do. And there's a lot of like professional development opportunities as well, like research opportunities. Like Eileen was talking about, chances for you to present your research, to present your posters, just things outside the medicine course to help you develop professionally, personally, and like socially. And in terms of some things that I found challenging, maybe I'll just talk about one thing. but when I first entered medicine, I did find the workload really challenging. Like it's a huge step up from your undergraduate workload. There's so many things to do, and once you enter the clinical years, the workload gets even more massive because you have your clinical work, and then you have you have to go home and study as well. So it's like basically working a full-time job, but you gotta go home and you gotta study as well. And that can be pretty challenging, like having to juggle your various commitments, your social life, and stuff like that. But I think that it's actually very manageable because I mean, firstly, because like I talked about just now, there's so much support. The whole environment is very collegiate, it's very social as well. Like there's a lot of study groups, you know, like people get around each other to really help each other, like in the clinical environment, in workload and stuff. Like I mean, personally, I have a few friends I hang out with, like we have a study group and we try to split the workload up. Yeah, I think if you try to study everything alone, it can be very challenging, and like the content can be pretty difficult. But when you find friends, when you guys can work at a problem together, it's a lot easier. And in terms of like support in the clinical environment, there's really so much. Like the doctors are so willing to teach you. They give you a lot of opportunities. So I mean, like personally, I'm really interested in surgery, and the doctors have took me to theater to get them to assist with surgeries. They're always like giving us extra classes. They're always teaching us, and I think the whole environment's really good. And there's this really good culture of like teaching each other and helping each other in medicine, especially in like, you know, Melbourne Uni and in Melbourne, like maybe just Melbourne at large. Like there's just a really good culture of like helping each other. Everyone's really nice to you. Everyone goes out of their way to help you, even when like they're not even getting paid and they're giving you classes. They're never getting paid and they're like giving you opportunities. They try to teach you like every chance they get. So yeah, so that's what I really like. So even though the workload can be really challenging, can be really massive, but there's just so much support that you'll definitely feel well supported. You'll definitely feel like it won't feel insurmountable. And even if it does, there's just a lot of avenues that you can turn to, like, you know, to help yourself out. Yeah, great. So I mean, that's it for me. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks, Chiri, and thanks, Beverly. Yeah, we're back to Jasmine.
Right, so thank you so much for the insightful session. So really appreciate, and also very wonderful experience about how the workload. I think a lot of students are very worried when they start to study medicine. So I know, let me see, is there any questions? So students out there, if you guys have any questions that you would like to ask them, feel free to take this chance. If not, you guys can actually visit our booth. Okay, and also have a one-to-one session at Hubilu. So we have a launch where you can actually meet them to chat with them, as I know maybe some of you guys are really shy to ask questions here. So feel free to join us at Hubilu, and we will end the session off here. So thank you so much, Elaine and Andrew, and also the two students, Beverly and Chire, to share all your experience. Thank you so much, and have a great day, and I will see you guys soon. Thank you.
Thank you, and we hope to see some of you in Melbourne University at some point of time.